Welcome to the Possibility Paradigm podcast, where we have conversations that are at the intersection of possibility, consciousness, actual experience, and energetic intelligence. The Possibility Paradigm are actually more than conversations. They're experiences that can change your tomorrows. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome to the Possibility Paradigm podcast. Today we're going to run into the possibility of freedom frequencies as opposed to being caught up and tied up with the things that we're assuming are true, or the clearest thing I can do is give you an example of, according to science and what we know about flight. According to science, the bumblebee, the beautiful bumblebee, shouldn't, in effect, be able to fly. In other words, the dynamics, the measurements of the body of the bee and the wings of the bee are such that, according to all the dynamics that are associated with flying, the bumblebee shouldn't be flying, right? And so I want to talk today about encouraging all of us to look at where we're actually in assumption in our world and how ineffective and how limiting that is actually for us. Imagine if we're all like incredible bumblebees, right? And we've been told and programmed that we shouldn't be able to do this. We shouldn't be able to move energy, to shift frequency with a single command as a sovereign being, because our programming and our history tells us that that's not possible, right? So we're going to break open this paradigm today. So mostly where these things get set in are in our relationship with authority and in our relationship with science. And by now, hopefully, you will have recognized that I'm not making any of these things wrong. I'm simply expanding everything into a field of possibility. So I'm happy that science has learnt about how to stitch bodies together if you're in an accident. And I also know, having been an energy medicine practitioner for numerous decades, that, and always working outside the paradigm and following the energy, talking to the energy, and bringing in new frequencies and releasing ones that don't support the fullest function of the body, that energy is way more powerful than Newtonian functionality and sequential, treating the body as a machine that functions in particular ways is very restrictive of its capacities. And, our stories about ourselves are very restrictive patterns about our possibilities and our presence on the planet. So there's and I want to open up this field today and just help to reorganize a few things in your field and in your psyche and in your circuitry and in your consciousness to be able to be more receptive to the new energies that are landing on this planet currently. So as an example, I recently heard where science declared that there is a new color. And I've been working with color and frequency, as I said, for many decades. And the truth is, they have actually got a machine now that can measure a frequency that they haven't been able to measure before and therefore call it a color. But the truth is that that frequency has been here, and science hasn't been able to measure it. So when I work with energy and I work with people, there are a whole lot of frequencies and patterns in there that have no name. And I know that when we work with them, acknowledge with them, that everything actually changes. And so only working with things that you can name is a massive, massive limitation of your capacities and your possibilities. So, imagine if the bumblebee believed everything it was told that it shouldn't and couldn't fly, what an impact that would be on all of us, there'd be no food, because the bees are not zipping around pollinating everything, so that we actually have the fruit and the flowers and the veggies, right? If it believed it. And so where are you believing some of the things that actually keep you in limitation, that stop your ability to pollinate the greater possibilities for this planet and for yourself? So if you dropped your assumptions and chose to actually become more of a receiver and a connector to the frequencies of possibilities, because you see your dreams, your visions, your urges, your impulses, they're all uniquely coded to you. There is something in them that, even though you may be told, you live in a fairy tale world. How many times have I been told that? Um, but those, in inverted commas, fairy tales are what you actually know about what's possible. And you would never have come onto this planet if you didn't come to bring here new possibilities. If you just came here to play around in the old limitations and the old programming, I doubt very much, if you're listening to this podcast, I doubt very much whether you would have bothered to come here. You would have gone somewhere else to have a better time. And I say that quite honestly, the hardship programming uh, that can be undone by letting go of the assumptions of what's possible and what's not possible, right? It can instantly change your world and the way that you be in this world. So where there are tensions in your existence, that's where you know that there is a possibility that you know about, that science doesn't know about, that authorities don't know about, that your partner doesn't know about, that your clients don't know about, that you actually do. The bumblebee knows exactly how to move its wings and its body to fly around against all odds. Spontaneous healings against all odds. So when you have this connection, this pull, this, I don't know, I don't know, I can fly. I don't know, I can command energy. I like your being, your infinite being, or if you like, your soul knows. And what happens is we get stuck in the how. And right from day one, we're programmed and educated, brainwashed to only live in the how. When how is interesting and fascinating for sure. Okay, so we're not in an either or. There's a whole other dynamic that goes on way before we get to the how. And the how is often in humans, or when we're functioning in human consciousness only, then the how gets really tiny and tight. The soul, the infinite being that you be, you go, well, I'll just delegate that to source. I'm not here to do the how. Source does the how. I'm here to be the how, which means that you're not searching and seeking out the how. You're rather, the opportunity now is to actually be the how, to let you be the bumblebee of your own life. And a key for this, starts with our intuition and expands into our awareness, because awareness is way bigger than intuition. And intuition is a great place to start. And it's not an either or. I and my clients live both intuitively, and then we get this massive awareness. And with that awareness is this impulse, this unnameable but undeniable impulse to show up, to do something, to create something, to be something. Because you see, the thing about impulses as well, that's so full of freedom, is impulses don't have to be right, right? Source and the universe are not really interested in right. It's actually its job is to move you. And when the impulse moves you, 99.99999% of the time, that movement that you have is of a completely different nature than any movement that you would have from your conditioning and from this is what you've been taught, or what this is what the mind says. And so what the mind says, which is based on what has been, and what has been is mostly limitations and assumptions, is not the expansive possibility of who you truly are and who you truly be. And this is how we break the loops that we get stuck into. We start to play with our intuition that then leads us to this enormous awareness that we have these incredible impulses with no need or interest in them of having to be right or making them wrong, because there is this absolute capacity to stay with the wings moving through your reality, because you know that you can fly. You know that this impulse is taking you somewhere. So anywhere today where you feel like you're entangled in thinking and proving, justifying and explaining, anywhere that is, you're invited today to collapse, disintegrate, dissolve, disappear, dissipate, and evaporate, all of that, to pop it all in the universal compost and move yourself into being available for the freedom frequencies that you truly be, that you've had a lot of experience now living as a logician, and all the while the magician has been tapping you on the shoulder, and you are now setting this possibility free. And again, it's not one or the other. I love saying to people who love logic, and I'm one of them, that the magic in this is that when you're impulsed by this energy, by this frequency, the logic becomes very clear very quickly, but it comes after the impulse. And logic will never give you the impulse, but the impulse will always give you the logic, right? So we've been living backwards. And that's how, again, we've been programmed and conditioned to do that. It's not like, I just got to go back to the bumblebee. The bumblebee's not bothered by what the scientists say about it, right? It just gets on with being a bumblebee and flying. And so this frequency, the frequency matters. Your frequency matters. The way you're running. Do you know that one of the other fascinating things that I recently discovered was, because we've been having lots of storms here, thunder and lightning and all the things, right? And in those storms, the lightning is just like extraordinarily beautiful. And then I picked up a book in one of our beautiful bookstores here, and about the body, because I think the body is just the most obvious example of magic on the planet. If you get our Newtonian logical sequential functionality and into energetics and all those sorts of things. But the interesting thing was that so we all know that the cells interact through ionic exchange, positive and negative charges on all the minerals and so on in the body. So there are pathways that do the ionic exchange, and the power generated by all the cells in your body of this ionic exchange that's going on all the time in your body, that there's that power in a second that is the same as the power in a bolt of lightning. And our bodies are being that power. that power in your body. And we walk around functioning, if we get hit by a bolt of lightning, it kind of blows our circuits. But we don't want to do that, right? And so I'm sharing this because the frequency, there's all of these exchanges going on of the frequency. And there are forms that from just a formula shouldn't be able to do things. But as you add frequency into that, and as you add magic into that, it expands your world exponentially. And an expanded world is where all of the momentum in creating a new reality on this planet exist. Clearly, what we've been doing has brought us to this point, and we can be in gratitude for that for sure. But these new frequencies now, if we come into an expanded consciousness of these frequencies that are available to us, what can we be aware of in that we've never been aware of before, that can generate greater for everybody? And so, this is really, in some ways as well, it's like coming home to yourself rather than trying to work out who you are. And again, I'm not talking about an either or, and I'm not talking about absolutes here, because at different times, I know through my own experience and through working with clients that sometimes we come home to ourselves, what we know about ourselves becomes incredibly clear. And the frequency of coming home to ourselves is completely woven with joy. And we don't have to look for it, search it, find it, change in order to get it or have it. We're actually woven with joy. It's one of those universal principles. But, so many of us are chasing ourselves around our limitations. And as we chase ourselves around our limitations, we simply create more hardship. What if, following on from today's episode, what if you invited yourself home to yourself? What if you stopped chasing? And what if you said yes to the invitation of your soul, your infinite being, and came home to yourself, to your sovereign self, where sovereignty lays and the stories abide and the magician shows up and does the impossible according to logic? May this fill your day, fill your heart, fill your world. Because remember, you are the possibility. I hope today's episode really opened up your world and opened up your possibilities. As I would have mentioned during the episode, the possibilities calendar is available for people who subscribe. It's a simple prompt to have either on your wall, on your desk, gives you daily conscious activations, resets your energy in attunement with the possibilities that are you. It's a great energetic anchor. Simply hit the link here and sign up as a subscriber, and that will be on its way to you instantly. Thanks for listening.